Hello, friends. Welcome to Stacking the Box. Myself, Iain MacMillan Sterling Holmes. We talked last week how we were hoping the schedule would be announced by now. We have not gotten the full schedule, but we do know the opening game of the NFL season, so we'll be reacting to that on today's episode of Stacking the Box. We will also be ranking all 32 teams on a tier list. My team's going to be a little bit higher up this year, Sterling, than maybe they were when we did this last year. And then we are going to rank our top 5 favorite football movies, because that's what you do in the offseason of the NFL. Sterling, how you doing?
I'm excited, man. One of our two teams that we root for are playing on the opening night game, so we'll get
Yep.
into that. I mean, that's pretty fun that one of our two teams are. The tier list is going to be outstanding. I'm actually looking forward to having some arguments with you. And then the movie one. I'm not a big movie guy. I'm a music guy, I'm a sports guy, but when it comes to movies, it's fine. But I think you and I are going to have some fun doing the movie list as well. So I'm actually really looking forward to this week.
I have a very strong take about what I think is the best football movie of all time. So we'll get to that. That's going to be how we're going to wrap up today's show. But before we dive into this too far, guess what, football fans? DraftKings is offering a fantastic sign-up bonus for new users. New customers can place a $5 first bet on any sport. That now includes the opening game of the NFL season. You can bet on that right now. And if you do it, you can instantly claim $200 in bonus bets if you sign up using our code STB. You'll also receive one no sweat single game parlay every single day. The best part is that you'll get both rewards even if your first bet loses. Using our code STB not only gets you these bonuses, but also directly supports our podcast. If you've been considering signing up for DraftKings, make sure to use the code STB to maximize your first bets. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check this episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. Promo code STB. As I mentioned, Sterling, we do have betting odds for now 2 NFL games, because we did already know about the Packers-Eagles game on that Friday of opening week, but now we know the opening game of the season. Last week, we gave our prediction for what that was going to be. Both of us thought it was going to be Bengals-Chiefs. It is not. It is what I think was the other obvious choice. It is a rematch of the AFC Championship game is how we're going to kick off the NFL season this year. Ravens at Chiefs. Obviously, you're a Chiefs guy. What was your reaction to that?
Surprised. You say obvious. I thought shocking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I thought first, I thought the Texans made a lot of sense. They're almost
Yes,
like the
that's true.
Detroit Lions of last year. They're the up and coming team, the fun team. That to me made a lot of sense. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe they'll go NFC, right? 2 straight years prior to this was an NFC opponent. Makes some sense. That way, the Super Bowl champions don't get penalized of having to play an elite AFC opponent right away, right? Because I do think there's something, we can get into that if you want to, but I think it's a little bit of a, oh, wow, now week one matters a lot. You're playing a playoff team with playoff implications starting right now, week one. You play an NFC team like we saw with the Chiefs, doesn't really matter, doesn't affect your seeding. This game against the Ravens will. So I thought, okay, maybe the Buccaneers, right? The Baker Mayfield Mahomes connection, right? Obviously there. The Bucks Chiefs a few years ago in the Super Bowl. I thought, okay, that could be kind of fun. I could see how you can make that a storyline. Plus, let's be real, it's opening night kickoff. Who cares who plays the Chiefs? Everyone's going to tune in to watch. Doesn't matter. It could be the freaking Panthers and Giants and folks to watch because it's the opening of football and football's back. So that was kind of my thought process. And then I went maybe Chargers, right? We'll keep it in the division. Chiefs, Chargers. You have Jim Harbaugh taking over as the head coach. That could be kind of fun. And I thought Bengals because I thought, okay, well, Joe Burrow can't stay healthy. It's a time to have the injury-prone conversation with Joe Burrow. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to. Are they freak injuries? Yes, very freak injuries. But they keep happening to one guy. At some point, it's like, yeah, they're freak injuries, but it keeps happening. At some point, can Joe Burrow just not stay healthy? But he should be healthy week one. So you
Right.
should have a chance to see Joe versus Pat. But no, they didn't go that route. The reason why I was surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be, is I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Ravens beat the Chiefs week one.
Right.
Andy Reid's great, typically starting a season. He's typically great off of a bye. What's longer than a 30-week long bye? But part of me goes, if the Ravens win, we know what's going to happen. The NFL somewhat wants this. Are the Chiefs crumbling? Is the dynasty over?
Right.
Are the Ravens the next in line? Lamar Jackson, is he finally now better than Mahomes? And then we all know what's going to happen come playoff time. The Ravens lose round one. The Chiefs will probably three-peat and hold up the third straight Lombardi trophy. It's just what happens with the Patriots. The NFL wants to put teams early on in the season that can hopefully beat said team so they can have storylines of, look, it's wide open. Look how wide open this is. When in reality, we know what's going on.
Yeah, and I want to correct myself. Last week, actually, that the prediction was that they're going to play the Texans, not the Bengals. But I think we brought up the Bengals as another possibility. I don't know if we did bring up the Ravens as a possibility. So Ravens Chiefs opening night. Betting odds, as I mentioned earlier, have been released over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for an account using code STB. Chiefs set as 3-point favorites for opening night. Over under for the game set at 47.5. You mentioned it, Sterling. The Chiefs, not exactly a team that, even though they are in the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship game every single year, they're not exactly great starters. It seems like every single, the start of the NFL season, they're good, but not great. But then they really hit their stride in the final month of the season and into the playoffs. So do you have any initial thoughts on that opening line? 3-point favorites the Chiefs are. I mean, if it stays that way, I don't really like betting on a game. How many months out are we? 4 months out?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer. I mean, there's guys are going to be injured at some point in the preseason. Let's hope it's not any of the big guys for either team. But if it remains at this on opening night, I'll be taking the 3 points at the Ravens.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense. I mean, I know last year everyone's going to point to, well, Travis Kelce got injured, didn't really play. Chris Jones didn't play at all. Kadarius Toney was the best player on the field for the Lions because he legitimately lost the game for the Chiefs.
Yes.
I get that, but that's the type of wonkiness that happens game one in a NFL season. Like, I know Chiefs fans typically don't like hearing that, but that's what happens week one. That's what happens the first 4 weeks of the season. And also, if you blame all of that to me, I'm sorry, it's a little bit of a loser's mentality. I don't want to hear it when that happens to a team in the playoffs. I don't want to hear it when I have to hear the Chargers go, well, we were in 9 games, but we lost everyone by 1 score. That's what bad teams do, right? You'll probably lose a game or two that you probably should have won. But when teams lose all the time, we hate hearing excuses. So as a Chiefs fan, I don't want to make a lot of excuses for them losing against the Lions. That's just hypocritical. They lost that game. But that's also what happens week one. Again, I don't think it's great for Kansas City. I don't think this is the best case scenario. I think it's great for the NFL. I think it's great for the Ravens, right? Again, you're going to have to play them at some point, too. It's not like the Chiefs were never going to play the Ravens. Again, if I had my druthers, I'd prefer to play them later on in the year when the Chiefs are typically, when they've been winning, they get better at the end of the year. Now, obviously, the Chiefs have a lot of the same faces, a lot of guys coming back, obviously. The biggest loss, maybe Willie Gay Jr. They added Hollywood Brown, though. Who knows what's going to happen with Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, first rounder. So there's some new faces in the wide receiver room, and I've said it for a while now. I think the Chiefs' offense is going to struggle early on, where we're all just perplexed and saying, all right, it's the same Chiefs offense from last year. And then about the halfway point, something's probably going to click because Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown now understand the offense more. Even if we have no idea what's going to happen with Rashee, those two guys in particular, it's going to probably take some time for them to get on the same page with Mahomes before Xavier Worthy even sees the field a ton. People are going to be ripping their hair out, but Justin Watson more than likely is going to be like the wide receiver 2 the first 6 games of the year. It's going to suck, but we know that's the reality of what an Andy Reid-led team sometimes does. I like the matchup. It's great for NFL, great for the average NFL fan. I don't have a lot of hot takes in regards to this.
The defending Super Bowl champions, since they started doing the kickoff game in 2002, and not every year has it been the defending champ in the opening game. 2002 wasn't defending champ. 2003, not the defending champ. 2019, not the defending champ. But in the games that the
2019 was, sorry, one second, was because it was the 100th year anniversary and it was the Bears Packers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes, you are correct. But in games that have featured the defending champion of the most recent Super Bowl, the Super Bowl champions are 13-5 in those games, but they have lost 2 straight, with the Chiefs losing last year to the Lions 21-20. And the Rams got trounced by the Bills the year before that, lost 31-10 to Buffalo. So defending champions on 0-2 run heading into this year. The Chiefs have played in the opening game of the season 3 times. They are 2-1 in those games. Lost last year, beat the Texans after winning the Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl win with Mahomes. They beat the Texans 34-20. And the other one is a very memorable one for me. And I'm just trying to figure out the year here. Do you remember what it was?
When the Chiefs,
Maybe it wasn't the opening night.
When the Chiefs hammered the Patriots.
Yeah, was that opening night? Yes,
Yeah,
it was. 2017. 42-27, the Chiefs beat the Patriots. And I remember, because it's funny, Sterling, you said if the Chiefs lose opening night to the Ravens, there's going to be people talking about maybe this is the end of the Chiefs. That was an overwhelming narrative about the Patriots when they got destroyed by the Chiefs back in 2017. And then the Patriots won, another 3 Super Bowls after that? So I will not be falling for that trap.
And that was my point. That was actually the game that I wanted. I'm glad you brought that up. That's the game I wanted to bring up because we saw it happen with the Kansas City Chiefs, and eventually that did happen with the Chiefs, right? They eventually took that next step. But the NFL has been trying for how long now to try and find another team? Just so the NFL tried with the Patriots dynasty. Who's the next team? Who's the next team? Who can compete? Well, the Chiefs were that team, and then they took the next step. But the NFL, and let's be real, the Buffalo Bills have tried. Nothing's happened. The Bengals have tried. They've got injured and nothing's happened. The Ravens have been close. During the regular season, the Ravens have been great. But come playoff time, they crumble. So you're right, though. You know, that's the perfect example of what the NFL, I think, wants to happen because that was the narrative. Yep. The Patriots dynasty is crumbling. Are the Chiefs the next in line? And it turns out the Chiefs were the next in line, but it didn't happen immediately. I think that's a very good comp there, Ian.
My Falcons have played in the opening game once, and they lost to the Eagles after the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, or in 2018, I guess was the Super Bowl. 2017 was the season. Falcons do play the Chiefs this year, but that is a home game for the Falcons, so there's no chance of that being the opening night matchup. That would have been electric for the show.
Yeah, this would have been a great show.
Total for the game, 47.5. Actually, my favorite bet looking at the odds right now might be the under with how good the Chiefs defense was last year. And then obviously the Ravens had arguably the best defense in the NFL. It's a pretty high total, 47.5, especially when you look at the playoff game, which I believe was well under that. Wasn't the playoff game? What was the final score?
14 to, or was it
21-10 or
10 or 17? I forget what it ended up being. I just know the Chiefs won. You know, sometimes you don't really care what you win by. When you lose, you care. When you lose, you're like, we lost by 3. Only lost by 1 score, even if it's 8 points. You're like, we only lost by 1 score. When you win, you go, I don't care.
The score of that game was
17-14.
17-10.
17-10.
So well under the set total of 47.5 is what we got for opening night. And generally, I feel like opening night games are kind of low scoring. Maybe not. There's been some high scoring ones.
Well, the Bills in particular, that was after they got trounced by the Chiefs. Well, not trounced. They lost that 13-second game.
Yes.
And they were trying to prove that they were back. And the Rams at that time also had just staff.
A lot of roster
turnover. I mean, yeah, that was a horrendous opening night. If you were a Rams fan then, I mean, you're hanging a banner, of course, yay. But then it was like, oh, man, we're in for a long season.
Yeah, that night was a bad omen for what was to come for the Rams that year. All right. Any other thoughts about that was really the only piece of news from last week to this week. Do you have any other thoughts about the opening game being the Ravens? I believe the rest of the schedule is set to be released Wednesday, the 15th. So next week we will dive deeper into the entire schedule, including how many primetime games my Falcons are going to have. I hope it's at least 2, or else I'm going to be angry. Any other thoughts for opening night?
I'm excited, man. Can't wait for Thursday.
It's what? 5, what did I say earlier? 4 months away. 4 months away from almost exactly 4 months away till opening night. It'll be here before we know it. But along the way, we're going to do a lot of shows of ranking and tier lists when we don't have much else to talk about. So we're going to dive into that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, first of all, definitely subscribe to Stacking the Box on YouTube. But if you're watching this, then we're going to do a little visual aspect of this too. Yes, there we go. We have the team tier list.
Fancy.
Yes. We're going to visually go through every team and rank them amongst the tiers. The tier list I've chosen here. Here are the ranks. I'm starting from the top. Super Bowl favorites, Super Bowl contenders, playoff teams, potential wild cards, missing playoff teams, mediocre at best, young but intriguing is the wording. And then number 1 pick contention. I don't know what order these teams are. I don't think any order, because the Saints are the first team on this list, and they're not alphabetical or anything else. So I guess we can just kind of go in this random order that we have on this, and we can just kind of mutually see if we can decide where these teams land. That sounds good to you, Sterling.
I like that. Let's do that.
The New Orleans Saints. Let's get this out of the way before I puke in my mouth. The Aints, obviously the Falcons' biggest rival. I kind of want to go mediocre at best, Sterling, but if I want to give them a little bit more credit, I mean, the Saints do look better on paper than what they actually ended up looking like last year. And it wasn't like it was a lot of bad luck. Like, their metrics weren't good, but then you look at the roster and you would have thought that they should have been better. Maybe it's their coach, Dennis Allen. Maybe it's, I don't know, they just don't mesh well. Maybe Derek Carr just stinks. Now I think I would put them in the tier ranking of missing playoff teams.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to. They're in between. The Saints are maybe the easiest one as far as there's not a wide array of outcomes. It feels like they're either missing playoff team or mediocre at best, which are kind of in the same category to me. They're very similar. I think missing playoff team, though, because they're probably a 8-9 team. I guess it still counts like mediocre at best, but
yeah, some of the, well, I guess I was just going to say some of these rankings are kind of similar, because what's the difference between playoff teams and potential wild card? I guess playoff team is they're going to be in the playoffs, but potential wild card is we could see them making a wild card.
Yeah, a team getting frisky with it. Yeah.
All right.
But I think Saints are in the missing playoff category. Again, talent on paper, but I don't think Derek Carr is a great quarterback anymore, and it just feels like they're aging and they don't really know what to do. They've been stuck in no man's land for so long, and they never want to pull the plug on a total rebuild.
And now with the Falcons being the clear favorites in the NFC South, it's not like winning the division is as wide open as it was last year. You think it's the Falcons, and if not the Falcons, the Bucs. So the Saints are kind of on the outside looking in. Let's move on to the next team, the Miami Dolphins. What do you think about them, Sterling?
Yeah, man, this is tough. I'll go. They're in between playoff team and potential wild card team. I'll go. Man, losing Christian Wilkins to me is just such a massive loss for that team. That's just such a huge hole to fill defensively, and I don't know how they do it.
I'll give my case for why I think they're a playoff team instead of potential wild card, because there is a world where they win the AFC East, where in my opinion, potential wild card section is more for teams who could make a wild card, but almost certainly won't win the division. The Dolphins have a chance to win the AFC East, especially with this likely being a down year for the Bills with the amount of roster turnover they've had. So I would vote to put them in playoff team, but I do think I'm generally higher on the Dolphins than maybe some other people are.
Yeah, let's go playoff team then. I think that's fair. I think their offense is still going to be electric. Their offense is still going to be one of the better offenses in the NFL.
Yeah. Ravens, I think they're a clear just Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, yes, they are an SB contender. Though they might even have the best regular season record this year, and that would not surprise me whatsoever.
Bengals. This one's an interesting one because I'm lower on the Bengals than a lot of people. Sterling, what do you think for the Bengals?
Potential wild card.
Oh, okay, so we agree. Okay. Yeah. So you don't think Bengals should be in the playoff team section?
No, I got to see Joe Burrow finish a season. I got to see what happened with T. Higgins. I got to see what happened with Trey Hendrickson. Are they going to pull a Chris Jones and sit in a sweet game one? Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, they are in disarray right now. Again, Joe Burrow is a hell of a quarterback, but the organization's not very well run. And there are a lot of moving pieces. You know, I talked to Jamar Chase at the Super Bowl last year, and that was the first time he's never had this bravado of, oh, no, we're going to be back, this, that, and the other. He was like, yeah, well, you know, I want to get paid, and T. Higgins wants to get paid. And I was like, okay, so even if Jamar Chase ain't talking smack, maybe Bengals fans shouldn't talk smack either.
Yeah, Bengals defense is my biggest concern. Dead last in the NFL last year in opponent yards per play. Not good. I'll put them as potential wild card.
Yep.
Broncos.
Young but intriguing.
I guess with Bo Nix, I guess they are. I guess young. Okay.
Right. I guess.
Well, it's either that or number one pick contention, but I guess they are a little bit intriguing with Bo Nix. So I'll say young but intriguing.
And their defense is not horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, They might win 4 games.
Yeah,
Is
we'll
that
say young but intriguing.
I'll say yeah. We'll see if we have to move that around. But right now, I'll say young but intriguing.
We can certainly make edits as we go along here. Giants, I think they're number one pick contention because they're not even really young.
I think Giants are mediocre at best.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're a little better than people are giving them credit. I'm probably an idiot, but they made the playoffs last time Daniel Jones was healthy.
Oh,
I know that's hilarious and weird and just awful to say. They did, though. I don't think they're a good team, which is why I think mediocre at
okay.
best. Obviously, the loss of Saquon Barkley is huge. They obviously drafted Malik Neighbors. I think they're maybe trying to figure some things out, especially with Brian Daboll understanding that this is his last chance. I mean, he's trying to. I think he's a good OC. I think he's a horrible head coach, but a good OC. But I think he's going to try everything he possibly can to keep his job, obviously. But if they went 7-10, that wouldn't surprise me. And so that for me is probably my mediocre at best. Is at 7-10.
Okay, yeah, I'll allow that. We'll see by the end of it if they're still there. Vikings, I think, falls firmly under young but intriguing.
Yes, 100%. Young
JJ
but
McCarthy,
intriguing.
Justin
Yeah.
Jefferson, Dallas Turner, young but intriguing for the Minnesota Vikings.
By the way, with the Giants too, just one last thing. Their defense
Yep.
was really solid last year, like really solid. Now I know some pieces have left and some moving parts there, but I think their defense there's at least something there. Not great defense, but a solid defense.
Yes. By the way, complete side note, I should have mentioned this at the top of the show because this was breaking news right before we went live. Jared Goff signed to a 4-year, $212 million contract extension, includes $170 million guaranteed. So good for him. Let's actually just skip ahead to the Lions, who were third on then 3 teams away, but we're just going to skip to them because of Jared Goff. Let's talk about it. Jared Goff, obviously their quarterback for the next number of years with how much they're paying him. Where do you slot in the Lions, who were close to winning the NFC last year?
Yeah, first and foremost, I talked to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He signs that record-breaking contract. I talked to Jared Goff. He signs his contract. So, Ian, you might be next. Just keep that in mind. I think Lions are Super Bowl contenders. I think they're on the cusp of playoff teams and SB contenders. Like, I think you can make the case they're in between those two tiers.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're clear-cut a playoff team. But I'll go a Super Bowl contender in my mind. I think Jared Goff might be the most underrated quarterback in football. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a phenomenal wide receiver. I think because he plays primarily in the slot that people think of him as just a really good player. No, he's an elite player. That dude is unreal. They have bolstered that defense a lot. It should not be as bad as it has been over the past couple of seasons. They brought back a lot of dudes on the offensive line. Their O-line is still one of the best in football. I think the games are decided more in the trenches than people realize. The Lions are great in the trenches. I'm going Super Bowl contender for the Lions. I think they take that next step.
I'll allow Super Bowl contenders. I think if it was 100% up to me, I think I would go playoff teams. I do think the Lions regress a little bit this year. Their defense is extremely suspect. 29th in opponent yards per play last season. I know they kind of boosted a little bit this offseason, and they have a lot of young pieces that should take it a step forward. But I'll allow Super Bowl contenders mainly because of generally how weak the NFC is. There's not really very many Super Bowl contenders.
And that was kind of my point too. The NFC, that really helps them. Although I will say the NFC North starting to get a little intriguing here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Rams. I would personally slot the Rams in as potential wild card. Their offense is too good.
Yeah.
The receiving core is too good. Matt Stafford's still got a year or 2 left.
No Aaron Donald this year. That defense is going to be suspect, but I think you're right because that offense is going to be pretty feisty.
Right. They're not winning the NFC West, so I'm not putting them in as just a playoff team. I think they are a potential wild card.
I'll go potential wild card. My gut originally said missing playoff team, but I think you're right. If things go right, they're a potential wild card.
Next up, we got the Yucks. Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the NFC South last year. Obviously, no longer the favorites with the Falcons loading up a quarterback, and we're going to run a fantastic 2-quarterback system. It's going to be great. Where do you put the Bucs in now?
I think missing playoff teams,
Ooh,
right?
Okay.
And unless you think potential wild card, but
no, I think I would go missing playoff because I don't know if an NFC South team can grab a wild card spot just because there's so many. I mean, obviously, whichever team doesn't win the NFC East is probably going to grab a wild card spot. You have at least one wild card spot out of the North. You might have another one out of the West. You might have it, a couple teams out of the North that could certainly do it. A couple teams out of the West that could do it. Yeah, I think, yeah. So I'll say missing playoff.
Yeah, I think they're slightly better than the Saints, but not in the same category as the Bengals or the Rams. Like I feel like
Yeah.
that they're the teams we have right there do seem like a clear cut, right?
Yep.
So I like it.
But if we're gonna go missing playoff team for the Bucks, well, it's so hard to tell. It's so hard to tell with these teams that have a rookie quarterback starting because we have no idea how good they're going to be. But the Bears, obviously Caleb Williams, but they're. I know they still have some questions they got to answer on defense, but offensively, you gotta like what the Chicago Bears are doing. Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet. Some questions on the offensive line too, but they at least have the weapons offensively to potentially be a playoff team. So are you ready to slide them all the way up into potential wild card spot, or have they not made that yet?
Yeah, I think I am, which is hilarious because I'm not like the biggest Caleb Williams guy out there, but I think with what they have, the offensive line being healthier, I do think Justin Fields, as fun as he can be in clips, he made some of the worst decisions I've ever seen in regards to pocket presence. I think a lot of those sacks, which makes people think the offensive line was atrocious, was just blatantly on him. I think the offensive line for the Bears was actually better than people thought. It wasn't good. I'm not saying the Bears' offensive line last year was this outstanding unit, but I think they were better than people thought. And you're going to see that this year with Caleb Williams. Plus, it helps me have wide receivers who can get open. I think the Bears are the potential wild card spot. Obviously, they're young and intriguing, but that defense is also pretty darn good. They brought back Jalen Johnson, one of the best cornerbacks in football. If you don't know the name, you should know it. Yeah, I think the Bears are a potential wild card team.
I'll allow it, especially if we're going to put Bucks in missing playoff teams. Because we're not saying locked in wild card; it is potential wild card. So yeah, I'll allow that for the Bears.
The Bears have way more upside than the Bucks. Like I don't think it's even close.
I agree. 49ers. I really think, we're going to get ahead of ourselves here, but I think there's two Super Bowl favorites. I think one is the 49ers. I think the Super Bowl favorites are Chiefs 49ers.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear.
So just toss in 49ers, and you may as well just go ahead and put in Chiefs.
Well, you don't want to talk about the Chiefs anymore?
Iain? I think there's been enough Chiefs talk in this
Okay, just want to make sure.
Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're
team.
the definition of a playoff team.
Yeah, we agree.
There we go.
Wow, weird.
Not Super Bowl contenders.
No, I don't think
I need to see something more. That I need to get that bad taste of their late season implosion last year out of my mouth before I consider them a Super Bowl contender. But they are firmly a playoff team. Too talented did not make the playoffs.
Agreed. And let's be real, they did a great job in the draft. Like during the draft, getting the guys they got, Terrion Arnold and Cooper DeJean, great value.
Quinyon Mitchell and
Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they needed help in the secondary. They got help in the secondary. Again, they're rookies, so we will see, but that was the biggest point of need for them. They brought back CJ Gardner-Johnson as well. Yep. They're at least bolstering their weakness. I do want to see Jalen Hurts, though, bounce back because that was some concern to me as well.
Yes, but they did make the moves they needed to make to kind of get back into being a true playoff contender. So, yeah, I will slot them in firmly into playoff teams. The Raiders. Thoughts on the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, I've said I think they're going to be a lot better than people think they are. I think they're a potential wild card team.
Wow.
I've been getting roasted by Chiefs fans and stuff. I get it, man. I don't like the Raiders. I hate the Raiders, but I love what they're doing. If you're a Raiders fan, you have to be just thrilled. Again, their quarterback situation is not ideal, but I'm trying to paint a picture of the Colts just missed the playoffs last year, right? They just missed. I don't think they made it with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, they just missed.
But they had a chance the last game of the season to make it. The Raiders are a more talented team than the Colts were. Same quarterback, Gardner Minshew. Now, if they start Aiden O'Connell, I think my choice changes. But if they start Gardner Minshew with that defense of Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby up front, that is maybe the best defensive duo on the defensive line in the NFL. That is going to be absolutely filthy. Offensively, while I understand the wide receivers aren't outstanding, Devontae Adams obviously is. Jacoby Myers is better than people realize. And the two tight end sets of Mike Mayer and Brock Bowers is going to be intriguing because both those guys can also line up a little bit, off ball, a little bit in the slot as well. Their O line does need a little bit of help, but I think Gardner Minshew is a little bit better than people think he is. If things go right, I could see the Raiders going 9-8, 10-7, which I think would constitute a potential wild card spot.
I don't know if I can get there with the Raiders. This might be the one that we're really disagreeing on, because I was ready to say mediocre at best, and then best case scenario missing playoff teams. I don't know if I can get there as a potential. I mean, obviously anything can happen. All 32 teams are potential wild card teams, but I don't know if I can slot them in the same level as the Bengals, the Rams, the Bears.
Okay. All right. I'll go one less than you. Just I'm letting you know right now. Who nailed the Texans last year, Ian?
You did.
If I have a team that I think is taking a massive step forward that no one's picking, I think it's the Raiders. Again, it all comes down to, is it Gardner or Aiden O'Connell? If it's Aiden O'Connell, I think they're mediocre at best.
But listen, we got the Saints and the Buccaneers and missing playoff teams, which I think are a lot more closer comparisons to teams to the Raiders than the Bengals and the Rams.
Agreed. I would agree with that. Again, okay. I just think the upside, I think the Raiders team outside of quarterback for the most part is a lot better than people think it is. And plus, I believe in Antonio Pierce. So,
Green Bay Packers.
Playoff team.
Yeah, they'd either be a playoff team or a potential wild card. I will go playoff team. I mean, with how young that team was, youngest team in the NFL last year, to finish that strongly, including that big playoff win over the Cowboys, you would think that they would take a step forward. It's not like a veteran team that just happened to play good for a couple of weeks. It's a young team that usually young teams tend to take step forwards after a strong end to the season before. So, I'll go playoff team for the Packers.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. If you think they're a Super Bowl contender, folks listening, I think you're delusional. I don't think that. I'm not saying they don't have a chance. Because again, as we're mentioning, every team has a chance, but they're not in the same tier, in my opinion, as the Lions or the Ravens.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to the Washington Commanders. I mean, now we're talking about a bad team. This has got to be a mediocre at best team. I know they're intriguing. What you think, young but intriguing because of Drake May, or not Drake May? Jane Daniels.
It's the only reason why they're not number one pick contention.
Okay, is young but intriguing worse than mediocre at best?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I just don't think I would ever be intrigued by the Washington Commanders.
It's only because of Jaden Daniels.
Sure. Okay.
You know what? And I'm fine actually moving the Broncos down to number one pick contention now.
All right. I'll take that trade. Deal. Handshake.
Yeah. Because I think Washington's at least more intriguing than Denver is, as far as what they have going out at quarterback.
Yep. All right, fair enough. That takes us to the Arizona Cardinals, which could actually be an interesting team this year. I think I would put them up in the missing playoff teams category. I'm not going to put them in potential wild card, but a full year under Kyler Murray, I think the Cardinals had the overall best draft. I mean, they had a ton of picks in the top 100. They obviously gave Kyler Murray another weapon, but they are obviously in the middle of a rebuild. So a little bit of, I mean, you could go young but intriguing and go mediocre at best. You go missing playoff teams. If you're really high on them, you go potential wild card. There's a pretty wide range you could go with the Cardinals.
I'm pretty high on the Cardinals too. I feel like everyone just expects, because they were just trash last year, and they almost forget how good Kyler Murray was when he's healthy. Like, it's fun to rip on him for all the video games and stuff, but when he's healthy, he's a pretty good quarterback, very electric, and he's good in the regular season. I don't know if you want him to be your QB if you're trying to make it to a lot of Super Bowls, but as far as winning games in the regular season, if he's healthy, I think he can get it done. I'll go missing playoff team, which I think is pretty high for you and me both, right? Because I think most people would probably say they are mediocre at best.
Yeah, I'll go with the missing playoff team. I am somewhat high on them as well. I'm not ready to put them in potential wild card territory, but I'll go missing playoff team, which I think missing playoff team, you're imagining that they're winning between 7 and 9 games, maybe 10 at best.
Yeah.
Which I think makes sense for the Cardinals. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they are the definition of mediocre at best.
I could not agree with you more, man. That is spot on.
But Mike Tomlin will probably drag them to a winning record in a wild card spot.
Yeah, most likely.
Buffalo Bills.
I feel like you and I might be on the same page here.
Playoff team? You look at them as potential wild card is how you look at them.
I'll go playoff team. I'll do it with you.
Just I know there's a lot of roster turnover from last year, but until they play bad, I just have to believe in them to the extent of they'll at least be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Josh Allen's just so damn good. I
Right.
still believe Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I'll go playoff team.
All right.
Wow, so we have 2 playoff teams from the AFC East already.
Yes. But now we're switching to the NFC South. I'll let you take this one. Atlanta Falcons. Where are you putting my Falcons?
Fuck. Young but intriguing with Michael
No, they're
Penix
not
Jr.
young.
With Michael
Stop.
Penix. Oh, you're right. You're right. No, with Michael Penix, they aren't young. I'll go playoff team, dude, because the NFC South is atrocious. If they were in any other division, they would be potential wild card. But because they play in the dumpster fire, that is the NFC South, they're a playoff team.
Could I sell you on a Super Bowl contender?
No, you cannot sell me that.
All right. All right. Seattle Seahawks. I mean, Seahawks are another mediocre at best team.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
You want mediocre at best. No. They're mediocre at best.
So we are ranking the Cardinals above the Seahawks this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. If you do, I don't know if you do, but I do.
Nope, I do.
Okay.
Patriots. Do we have our second number one pick contention? Obviously,
Yes.
They have a rookie quarterback in Drake May, but they have nothing really else for them.
Yeah.
We don't even know if Drake May is going to be starting at the start of the year, and this team was horrific last season. So I think we have a second number one pick contention team.
Agreed, because if especially if Drake May's not starting, that's not even fun. That's not even young and intriguing. So
how glorious is it that we are now living in an age where the Patriots are in number one pick contention territory? Ooh.
I mean, look at the Chiefs and Patriots. This is awesome to see. This is look at the Falcons.
Yeah, your dream.
Look at the Falcons.
No, we're moving up.
Yeah.
We're moving up. We're higher than we were last year. Which if we did this last year, I don't remember if we did. I might have been. I think I convinced you to put us in like the potential wild card category, but maybe not.
I did. I think I probably did potential because I said the NFC South so bad they might sneak in.
Yeah. Cleveland Browns. I think I would put them into potential wild card, but I mean, I've talked about it on an episode recently. I have a conspiracy about the Browns because their defensive numbers on the road and at home don't add up.
Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, we both agree that Deshaun Watson just sucks now, right?
Right.
He's a bad quarterback.
So I wouldn't even be against putting them under missing playoff team.
Yeah, that my initial thought was missing playoffs, but I do think the defense deserves some credit. Yes, the splits are Houston Astros banging trash cans territory, right? But they still have Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward. They do have some weapons. I feel like we still need to go potential wild card just based on some of the talent on that team.
Okay. I mean, yeah, they got Jerry Jeudy in the offseason as well. I mean, they have receivers.
You don't say Jerry Jeudy. That's not a name I'd bring up. It's like, oh, yeah, I got Jerry Jeudy.
Well, it's better than the next guy on their list, who would have been David Bell.
Yeah, true.
Nick Chubb comes back healthy. That could be big for him if he is healthy. They still have a very good offensive line. Yeah, I'm fine with that for the Browns. Yeah. Texans, it's crazy. What a world, but I think we got to slot the Texans in a playoff team. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender quite yet. Do you feel differently?
Yeah, I'm going Super Bowl contender.
Super Bowl contender?
Yes.
I don't know if I can get there with them.
We're doing it. Richard, put it there. Put it there. Yeah, good job. Yeah, they're a Super Bowl contender. They have made every single correct move. Every single correct move.
Okay.
Again,
just one good season. I know it was a great season last year, but one good season to go from the worst team in the NFL to now you're putting them in Super Bowl contender. That's a massive leap.
Yeah, and it's the correct one. Again, we won't know until they actually play the games. I get all that stuff, but as far as the process is concerned, they made all the right moves. All of the right moves. Bringing back Dalton Schultz, right? Their offensive line is really good. They brought in, who are they bringing at running back now? Joe Mixon. Wide receivers, get Tank Dell back, Nico Collins back. Their defense, they brought in Daniil Hunter. They bolster the D-line in totality. They bolster the secondary unit. Like, they're doing what you're supposed to do when your quarterback's on a rookie contract. Go all in. The Texans are all in right now.
Okay. I'll allow it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I want on the record I'd put them at playoff team, not Super Bowl contender, but I'll allow it. But if you're gonna put them Super Bowl contender, I'm putting the Dallas Cowboys as Super Bowl contender.
No,
Yep.
dude. No.
No, but here's the thing with the Dallas Cowboys. In the regular season, they are a top 3, top 4 team in the NFL. They have not been able to translate that to playoff success, but you can't deny how good of a team they generally are. If you look at like average scoring margin last year, it's a Ravens first, it's the Cowboys second, plus 9.9 average scoring margin. You can't tell me a team that good in the regular season, despite not having historic success in the postseason, isn't a Super Bowl contender.
They're a playoff team. That's the definition of a playoff team. They'll make the playoffs.
So then you're telling me the only Super Bowl contenders in the NFC are the 49ers and Lions?
Yes.
I disagree.
I
mean, the Texans didn't do anything in the play. They won one playoff game against the Browns, then got smoked by the Ravens. But you're putting them at Super Bowl contender.
I think the Eagles are better than the Cowboys. I think the Packers might be better than the Cowboys. Hell, dude, not the Vikings, the Falcons, maybe
Okay.
if you squint.
Well, then, if you want to take, we need 2 NFC teams in the Super Bowl contenders category. So you got to swap one of them out. And if you want to make the trade with the Falcons, I'll put the Falcons up there.
I'm not putting the Falcons. It's either Eagles or Green Bay, and I would go Eagles over Cowboys, and I wouldn't even think twice.
I just disagree. But I'll be the reasonable one. Switch the Cowboys and the Eagles then.
Yeah.
I just refuse. There's no way the Lions are the second best team in the NFC.
They are.
I put both. No.
They are. I don't.
Their defense was horrific.
And they got
average scoring margin. They were 8th in the NFL last year.
But their offense was phenomenal, and the Eagles got better defensively. The Cowboys, what did they do? Brought back Zeke?
All right, then we're gonna have to go with the Eagles then.
Yeah, I mean the Cowboys have a top 10 roster. I'd give you that, but they're a playoff team, nothing more, man.
You're gonna make me root for the Cowboys next year, and I don't want to do it. But there's nothing I like more than being right, so I'm gonna have to root for the Cowboys next year.
You and I are gonna have to make a bet then on the Cowboys because you do a great job betting against me.
A little sarcasm there. Yeah.
Oh, you could pick up on that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, okay.
All right. We'll figure something out for the Cowboys.
I figured you could pick up on it because I laid it on pretty thick.
6 teams left. Chargers. Where'd you put the Chargers?
Oh, man. Are they young and intriguing? Mediocre? I'll go mediocre at best for the Chargers.
Really? That's pretty low. You're not putting them as a missing playoff team
No.
I'd put them at a missing playoff team.
They have no wide receivers. They've lost Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. You thought they were bad offensively as far as checkdowns. They lost Austin Eckler. I mean,
they got Jim Harbaugh.
They have Harbaugh, who I think is a really hell of a head coach. I think Justin Herbert's a phenomenal quarterback. The rest of that team's not good. I think Ladd McConkey is clear-cut their best wide receiver right now, which is not a good thing. I like Ladd McConkey, but dude, no, man. I do like their offensive line, their tackles with Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, but zero weapons.
All right, Jets. I'm putting them as missing playoff teams.
Potential wild card.
No. I'm putting my foot down on this. There's no way they can go from being one of the worst teams in the NFL to now with an 86-year-old Aaron Rodgers now be a playoff team.
Dude, are you serious? That defense is still elite?
Defense didn't help him last year.
Because they had Zach Wilson as their quarterback and Trevor Siemian.
Who's their backup? Because Aaron Rodgers is playing max 3 games next year. Who's
Tyrod Taylor? Isn't it Tyrod Taylor now? They brought in
Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, they brought in a good backup. They are a potential wild card team.
All right, potential wild card team. I'm letting you make the final decision on every team in this, and I don't like it. Panthers, number 1 pick contention.
Yes. I don't even think
they're... You sure you don't want to put them as a potential wildcard team?
I don't even know if they're young and intriguing.
No, Bryce Young. No, I'm not intrigued by Bryce Young anymore.
No.
Titans, mediocre at best.
Yeah, they bolstered their defense. Getting L'Jarius Sneed was huge. Yeah, I'll say mediocre at best.
I mean, yeah, but Will Levis doesn't give me confidence at
I
all.
mean, they might even be number one pick contention. I just they don't have Mike Vrabel to say they have a good head coach. We have no
Yeah,
idea.
I do think that they've had an underrated
Offseason.
offseason so far, though.
Hey, at least we agree on that one.
Yeah. Colts. Anthony, young but intriguing. Anthony Richardson back at quarterback.
I'll go missing playoffs. They just
Okay.
missed last year. I think
Yeah.
they might even be a potential wild card team, but I don't know if I can get there just quite yet.
Okay. And then Jaguars, who are in a weird spot.
I think missing
Potential
playoff
wild
team.
card team, I guess.
I was going to say missing playoff team.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think they're very good, man. I think Trevor Lawrence is the most overrated quarterback in football.
Wow. You're ready to make that stance?
I said it last year. I've said it for maybe
Okay.
2 years now. I think he's a fine quarterback. I think he's a solid quarterback. But folks act like he's in this elite category or like just under elite category. I'm like, dog, he ain't even close. He ain't Joe Burrow. He ain't Mahomes or Lamar. He ain't CJ Stroud. Is he even Jordan Love? I don't think so.
All right. I think we have a pretty even distribution here.
Yeah, I like this actually.
I mean, I would put my biggest issue with it is if I could change anything, I'd put Cowboys as Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I can't get there, dog. Can't get there.
What's your biggest issue? If you could change one thing.
With this?
Yeah.
Not much, honestly. I think this is pretty solid. Like there's not much I'd change.
You take the Eagles down and let them in, so then there's only 3 in Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, but again, I think the Eagles did a great job again in the draft, which I know it's the Howie Roseman offseason award yet again. It's got to pay off eventually. I mean, they did win a Super Bowl and they did go to another one, but I like what what the Eagles did in the offseason. I didn't really like what the Cowboys did, so that's kind of my reasoning here.
Potential wildcard teams. We have 3 from the AFC, only 2 from the NFC. If we were to move another team up to potential wildcard, it'd be one of the Saints, the Buccaneers, or the Cardinals. Which of those 3 teams, if you had to choose to move up to potential wildcard, would you go?
Oh, you have to make me? What?
Just
Oh,
in theory.
in theory,
I think I'd go Bucs.
I think I'd go Bucks too, just because you got to play a couple games against the Saints and a couple games against the Panthers. You don't have to move it up there, Richard. You can leave him at the missing playoff team.
Yeah, leave it back down there. All right, there you go. That's our tier list, an early tier list. We'll see if anything changes between now and the start of the season. We have about 10 minutes left in the show. We are going to rank our top 5 football movies of all time. Sterling, do you want to go each go through our list, or do you want to go 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1?
Let's go 5-5.
Okay. Number 5 on my list for top football movies of all time. I'm going to go The Longest Yard. Now, I'm interested if you've seen the original Longest Yard, Sterling. I have not.
I love Burt Reynolds.
So you have you? I mean, I like Burt
Yeah.
Reynolds too, but I haven't seen the original.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use the most recent one, obviously the Adam Sandler one. It is a good mix of. Here's one of my issues with a lot of football movies. When you look up like lists of top football movies, a lot of them, in my opinion, aren't even about football. There's enough football in this to be certainly about football. So I will take The Longest Yard. It's funny. It's a classic. It's rewatchable. I'll take Longest Yard. The new one. What year would that have come out? I'm going to guess 2007.
Well, that's a good guess. I was going to say 07 too. Are you looking it up? I'll go 06.
2005.
Wow.
Time flies.
Yeah, when you're having fun.
Sterling, so you said you've seen both the
Yeah.
original and the 2005 one. I was going to say recent, but 2005 is almost 20 years ago. Oh my God.
I watch the 05 one all the time, so I probably have to lean that one just because that one is more of my childhood. Like that feels like a childhood movie to me. It was always on. Again, for mine, you're gonna have better movies than I will because mine are. I don't watch a lot of movies in general, so I kind of went with what I liked, and so everyone's gonna yell at me, and that's fine. I can take it. I'm going Concussion number 5. I remember watching that in theaters and was kind of blown away by a lot of that. I thought it was really good acting. I thought it was really enlightening. Kind of helped get the NFL to take concussions more seriously. right? Like I really do think that movie helped the NFL. Like, okay, we have to do something. We have to do something. I know there's going to be those old heads who say, well, yeah, it ruined the game. Now you can't go head to head and helmet to helmet. It's like, dude, come on now. If you're watching that for helmet to helmet, go watch UFC. I want to watch football. I want to watch football. So I have Concussion number 5.
I've realized the 5 movies, by the way, I have never seen Concussion, to be honest, so I don't really have a take on it. I realized my 5 movies are all like within the same like 5 to 7 year period. So this is basically just the 5 football movies I watched growing up, I feel like. Number 4 on my list is We Are Marshall. Matthew McConaughey. I love Matthew McConaughey. It's sad. It's a tearjerker. Lots of football in it, though. What was the formation that they used? Was it the wishbone or was it the pistol? They watched all the film and then they put it in because it's a good format. Whatever it was, that's a great part of the movie. I like it overall. Matthew McConaughey, I'm going to like anything that he's in.
Number 4 for me, Waterboy, a movie I always watched growing up. It was always on. I don't know why, but Waterboy was always on VHS, DVD, on TV. Didn't matter. Waterboy kicked ass. You think I'm talking about Joe Montana? No, I'm talking about Joe Montana. Okay. Big Waterboy fan. Number 4.
2 Adam Sandler movies have made the list already. How about that?
Wow.
Number 3, I'm going to go Invincible, which I feel like is a little bit of an underrated movie. I feel like not very many people talk about Invincible. Mark Wahlberg, Philadelphia Eagles, walk on. Was it Invincible? That's what it's called, wasn't it?
I thought you switched your list. I didn't think you had that number 3 originally.
No, that was my number 3.
Okay.
Mark Wahlberg, walk on.
It's an awesome movie. I love that movie.
True story, I believe. Vince Papali, Dick Vermeil.
It was an awesome movie. That movie kicked ass. I actually had that number 2 on my list. And I had The Longest Yards, plural, as number 3.
Okay.
So I guess we both had 2 of the same movies on our list. I didn't know you had Invincible. I love that movie. Yeah, that movie kicked ass, dude. That movie, I remember watching it in theaters and be like, let's go. I was also like, when did it come out? I was also pretty young when it came out. And so I thought it was badass. So I thought maybe I could become a walk-on on an NFL team. And then turns out, no, I couldn't.
I am seeing now, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page for the movies. There's a whole section that says differences from the true story, which I guess I assume there's a lot of differences. But yeah, I'm just going to not read that section because I'm going to believe that story as true as the movie.
Yeah, he would take like the pads off too. And like, he's like, I can't run in pads. I'm going to take the pads off. Like you're just hitting dudes like full speed without pads. I believe that.
Number 3 was Longest Yards for you, and then number 2 was Invincible.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so number 2 for me, and I went back and forth between this being number 2 or number 1. This might be the movie I've seen the most in my entire life, to be honest. And I was looking at a list that had this movie 20th amongst football movies, which is blasphemy and insulting. Remember the Titans is my number 2. And it might be my number 1, to be completely honest.
I mean, but what part of Tennessee's history really stands out to you? It's not like they've had a great history. What, the Ryan Tannehill? Is that the Titans that you remember? Or?
Obviously not.
Then
I would. If it was about the Tennessee Titans, then yeah, it should be ranked 20th amongst all football movies of all time.
My favorite thing that we have is that we didn't have Rudy on here. That really makes me smile.
Yes. Yeah. I thought you would. I thought you would have had Rudy. Don't like Rudy. Not a Rudy guy.
Yeah. You go number 1.
My number 1 is Friday Night Lights. And when people talk about Friday Night Lights, everyone talks about the TV show. The TV show sucks. It's a soap opera with football in the background. Friday Night Lights, the movie, is, in my opinion, in terms of just pure football, because there's really nothing else going on in that movie except for football. The other movies have something else going on in the background. Remember the Titans, obviously. It's about racism and segregation and those things. Friday Night Lights is purely about football. If we're just talking about the best pure football movie, it's Friday Night Lights. And the halftime speech of Friday Night Lights will get you fired up. And my favorite thing about Friday Night Lights, the movie, which, spoiler alert, if you never watched it, close your ears, they lose in the end. which is unbelievable. One of the greatest movie twists of all time. Because I remember watching it when I was a kid, and every single sports movie of all time, it always ends on a high note. It always ends with the team winning on the last second. And it goes right up to that. It's the final play. He reaches the ball over the game-winning touchdown, and it finishes an inch short of the goal line. They lose. And they're all just crying on the field while the other team, the bad guys, celebrate. What a twist. I love it.
Is that the movie where with who was the offensive lineman? Billy Bob, Big Bob.
Billy Bob was the coach.
What was that? Remember the
Billy
fat
Bob
guy?
Thornton was the coach. Have you not seen Friday Night Lights?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Mike Winchell?
Was that who got the concussion? The offensive lineman? And that was that one really bad movie, wasn't it? With a seal tear, ACL tear? No.
ACL tear was Boobie Miles, running back, tore his ACL. He was like the best player, and then he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
And then he tried to come back too early and then tore it again.
Hey, you want to win, put Boobie in.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Let Boobie spin. Yeah.
Number one, hot take. Hot take. This is like calling Die Hard a Christmas movie, which it is. Dazed and Confused.
It's the worst take I've ever heard.
I
don't even know of any. I don't even remember a football scene in Dazed and Confused.
They smoke weed on the football field.
That doesn't make it a football movie.
And the quarterback is the main character. And the very start of the movie, it leads up to, are you going to sign your no smoking and no drinking pledge for your teammates, son? Are you going to sign that, son? And the whole movie is about if he's not going to sign the pledge for smoking or drinking. And then eventually goes, I don't know if I'm going to play football, sir, but if I do, it won't be by your rules.
Was there a single snap of football in the entire movie?
No, I don't believe so.
It's not a football movie.
No,
that's
it's
the
like Die
worst
Hard.
take I've ever heard.
I just told you, it's like a Christmas. It's like Die Hard being a Christmas movie. Is there? They seen Christmas carols throughout the movie?
But it took place during Christmas. This movie didn't take place during a football game.
No, but there were football instances being brought up. Okay.
I'm so angry right now. That's you're going to use it. It's not even like you put it in at number 5. You're saying the greatest football movie of all time is Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, that movie. I just love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite one. Matthew McConaughey is also in it too.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I have no issue with Dazed and Confused. Calling it a football movie is
I told you, it's like Die Hard.
What are you talking about?
It's like my Die Hard take.
It's not. I've never heard anyone else say Dazed and Confused is a football movie. It's not like the Die Hard thing at all.
It kind of though. Like it kind of is because the coach, talks about it. So
all right, I think that's where we're gonna end the show. That's the worst take I've ever heard in my life.
I just wanted to rile you up, baby.
Hey, you should tweet that out with a poll. Is Dazed and Confused a football movie? Tweet that out with a poll. I'll retweet it. We'll see what the responses say.
1% tops.
Well, if that's the case, then you need to come up with a new number 1. I'll give you a week to think about it. Well, rewatch Friday Night Lights. It's fantastic.
It'll be number 1, Friday Night Lights. But
did you like Friday Night Lights, the show?
I think I watched part of it, and I semi-enjoy. It's been years, man. It's been a long time. The movie's been so long too. I just remember Billy Bob Thornton and Boobie
Miles.
Boobie Miles, yeah.
At least rewatch the halftime speeches. I think even better than the halftime speech from Any Given Sunday. Maybe not. It'd be a close second. But that's an honorable mention that neither of us had on the list. Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino. Yeah. Jerry Maguire, which I don't really think is a football movie, but people.
Oh, good call. Yeah, Jerry Maguire. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Varsity Blues, which I've never watched, but a lot of people speak highly of. I need to watch Varsity Blues. It's on my list.
I think Dazed and Confused was a lovely choice.
Stupid.
Hey, at least I left you dazed and confused.
You left me angry and offended is what you left me. All right, that's our show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Even though Sterling had the worst movie take of all time, go ahead and like the video. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back next week to talk the schedule because it's being released this week. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll talk to you then.